What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's RFG back at it today, and I'm here to go over just exactly who was occupying the land of Ireland before what it is today. Okay, I'm going to be delving into who was occupying the country of Ireland before Ireland looked like what it is today. Okay, I'm going to be delving into this, man, so just listen carefully and pay very close attention. Okay, now we all know the information has went viral that the whole idea of St. Patrick's Day comes from the indigenous Twa, the African tribe known as the Twa, occupying the land of Ireland. Okay, we understand that that is true. We understand that we have the documents from the specific universities and the specific professors that have been professing this information. Okay, and I want to make this very clear. Snopes, okay, there needs to be a giant, massive boycott of this website right here. There actually needs to be a petition signed to get this website taken down, because Snopes is a government promoted website. It is backed, and I believe it was created by the CIA and the FBI to counteract the awakening. Okay, Snopes was a website that has been paid off by the CIA, the Pentagon, and the FBI to counteract the so-called Black Awakening. Okay, because Snopes, they basically tried to debunk everything that the so-called pro-Black movement is putting out, or anything truther of that nature. Okay, it's trying, Snopes, they're trying to debunk it with the mainstream propaganda bullshit as their answer. Okay, so we know the history of the Twa in Ireland. We know that the Twa were the real leprechauns. That whole ideology of the leprechaun, okay, using magic and going after its pot of gold, that's because the indigenous Twa inhabited Ireland thousands and thousands of years before any Caucasian or European made their way to Ireland. Now, another thing we're going to look at is the fact that the Twa were known for conducting magic, okay? Conducting ritualistic magic with certain herbs and certain crystal stones, okay? Now, we know that the Twa do the same ritualistic practices when they tap into the forces of nature, and they use certain herbs, they use certain crystal stones, and they use certain signs and symbols that they engrave in the earth to enact certain spirits, or to invoke certain spirits from Mother Earth. Okay, so that whole ideology and the leprechaun with the pot of gold, okay, there is gold, large forms and accumulations of gold in all different parts of Europe. Okay, we know that. So the Twa had full knowledge of the precious metal resources in Europe. Okay, and the Roman Catholic Church is responsible for the genocide that was committed against the Twa, and the Roman Catholic Church was responsible for pushing the Twa all the way out to the outskirts of Ireland, and even throwing them out into the ocean, and sacrificing them and burning them at the stake during the so-called Crusades. See, there was many crusades that was scattered through certain periods of time. The Crusades wasn't just one period of genocide. It was genocide throughout a whole, the whole Catholic Church's existence, going back 2,000 years. Okay, They want to carry this notion that the Crusades, lasted 10, 15, 20 years. No, that's bullshit. Okay? That's complete bullshit. So St. Patrick was born in 386 AD. Okay? Or we should be saying 386 CE. St. Patrick was killed or died in 461 CE. So sometime between 386 CE and 461 CE, that is when the Twa were massacred and taken out of power and dethroned out of Ireland. Okay? Because what is St. Patrick known for? He's known for ridding Ireland of the snakes. Okay? And we know from a scientific biological perspective, there were no population of snakes in Ireland. So they are talking about the melanated people who had the serpent wisdom. You understand? And the only melanated people, or the only people who worship the serpent, okay, were indigenous melanated people. Okay, so therefore, when you talk about St. Patrick getting rid of the snakes out of Ireland, we know that they have to be referring to the indigenous people that paid homage to the serpent all over the earth. Okay, on every continent, you had indigenous people who paid homage to a serpent god and some form of a mother goddess on every continent. Okay? Now I'm gonna get deeper and deeper with this. Now the Berbers perhaps set sail from western Morocco and settled in Ireland before the Celts, making it their new home. Okay? Moorish temple founder Noble Drew Ali teaches that Ireland was once part of a Moorish empire and that the Irish are a Moorish people. And I'm going to prove this as a fact. Okay, let's break this down through etymology. The name Dublin derives from the Irish word Dublin, early classical Irish, okay, basically meaning black or dark. So dub, D-U-B, okay, and this Germanic, Celtic Irish language, dub means black or dark. Lind means pool. Okay? Lind means dark, so it means dark tidal pool. Okay? And what they're referring to here with the name Dublin is they're referring to the Fomorians. That's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about the Fomorians. All right? So the name Dublin, which is the capital of Ireland, Dublin means the dark tidal pool. The dark tidal pool from which the Fomorians rose, from which the Fomorians came. All right? Now the name Ireland. What does the name Ireland come from? Okay? The English, not the English word ire, amusing as it may to be think so, the ire in Ireland comes from the name for Ireland in Irish, Gaelic, Irie, or a Ryu, okay? A Ryu, right here, E-R-I-U, a Ryu, a pre-Christian mother goddess worshipped widely across ancient Ireland. So right here, they're telling you that there was an ancient Ireland that was pre-Christian. Okay? There was an ancient Ireland that was pre-Christian. Now, who were the Christians that occupied Ireland that were not ancient? They had to be, okay, the followers of the Roman Catholic Church, okay, where you get your St. Patrick, okay, right here. So it says Ireland had its name before it was invaded by the Christians and St. Patrick, right here, okay, and Arayu. the goddess Erayu. Okay? The goddess Erayu was the mother goddess of the earth that was worshipped by the Twa and by the Fomorians that occupied Ireland before any, Vatican Catholic Christian influence invaded Ireland. Okay? These people connected with nature. These people had 13 months. These people, were completely connected to the cosmic current, the cosmic force. Most of them, like I said, the Fomorians were actually amphibious beings. The Fomorians were amphibious melanated gods, okay, which were the Nephilim. The Fomorians were the Nephilim, and they paid homage to a mother goddess of nature. All right. Okay. So basically, this is the nail in the coffin for, the Catholics or the so-called European or the Caucasian of being indigenous to Ireland. That has been debunked. They are not indigenous to Ireland whatsoever. Okay? Very, very profound information that I'm relaying to you guys today, because through the etymology of the word Dublin and through the etymology of the word Ireland, we see that this has nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church. It has nothing to do with any saint or Saint Patrick. It has nothing to do with any correlation to, Caucasian ancestry. Okay? The name Ireland is a mother goddess that was worshipped by the pre-Christian inhabitants of Ireland. Okay, they worship the mother goddess. Now, it's the nail in the coffin, because nowhere in Caucasian ancestry have they ever worshipped a mother goddess. You can't show me one Caucasian religion, okay, one so-called organized religion of Caucasian ancestry where they actually worshipped a supreme mother goddess of the earth or a supreme mother goddess of the cosmos. So not at one point, not at any point has any Caucasian or Christian society promoted a matriarchal government or a matriarchal society. At no point in time has a Caucasian or Christian establishment promoted matriarchal a society ever. It's always been patriarchal with them. And even with this, the Queen of England shit, that is all a counterfeit. That is all a counterfeit from the indigenous empire and the original indigenous empire over this earth, okay, of a matriarchal rule that is ancient, before any European or, Christian Catholic influence, okay? So right here you see that the whole idea of worshiping a mother goddess of nature and the earth, that has never been associated with anything Christian or anything with Caucasian culture. All right. Now we're going to break this down even further. Okay. The goddesses known as the Amazon goddesses, they established a matriarchal system over the earth. And this is how it was over the earth for tens of thousands of years before, certain events transpired which caused these goddesses to lose their ability to procreate asexually. Okay. And that is when the age of patriarchy rose. All right. So even the name Europe comes from the Ethiopian goddess Europa. Okay. Who was an Ethiopian queen or Ethiopian goddess, Europa. So anybody trying to debate this information, Anybody trying to debate this information, I'm going to have to ask you to go back in history and tell me what the Caucasians were calling Europe before Europe was named Europe. I'm going to repeat that. Go ahead and tell me what the Caucasians were calling Europe before Europe was called Europe. What were they calling Europe before the continent was called Europe? If what I'm saying is wrong. Okay? So I'm basically proving to you through etymological evidence and archaeological evidence that the original inhabitants of Ireland, okay, and all of Europe were so-called melanated people. All right? Okay? Now, once again, when they talk about St. Patrick getting rid of all of these serpents out of Ireland, they're referring to the people who worshipped the serpent. Okay, right here you see the pharaohs with the serpent on their crowns. Okay, the serpent on their uraeus crowns. And, they paid homage to serpent wisdom and everlasting life, interdimensional knowledge, interdimensional wisdom, interdimensional immortality. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to delve into these Fomorians. We're going to delve into these Fomorians, okay? If you look into the Fomorians and their Wikipedia page, it's going to tell you that the Fomorians had an enemy. The Fomorians had an enemy from an entirely different world. Okay? The Fomorians had an enemy that existed from a parallel universe. All right? Now, this right here, the Fomorians, basically are the children of the Titans. The Fomorians are the Nephilim. Okay, the amphibious Nephilim, or like I said, they could possibly be the Titans as well. But they were amphibious gods, they were seafaring gods, and they were giants, and they were carbonated, they were melanated beings. Okay, and when they talk about the Cyclops of Belial, I think the leader of the Fomorians, his name was Belial. Okay, Belial had a very powerful Cyclops eye, which means he had a very powerful third eye, and he was able to connect his consciousness fully with the fourth and fifth dimensions, and he was able to manifest those light waves from those dimensions into this third dimension. All right, which means he was able to manifest anything he thought of into this material realm using this so-called Cyclops eye, which was his third eye. All right. Now the Fomorians, okay, like the word is right here. The Fomorians, okay, that came from the dark waters, under the surface of Ireland. This is where you get the name Dublin. The name Dublin means the dark waters, okay, from which the Fomorians came, okay? And the Fomorians had an enemy, and that particular enemy was the forefathers of the so-called Caucasian race. Now, the forefathers of the Caucasian race are the god Amun in ancient Egypt, and there was another deity along with him, and Amun later became Zeus. Okay, and this deity created its own being to go directly against nature and to go directly against the cosmos, the cosmic order and the order of nature. Okay, that was the doing of Amun. All right. Now, right here, according to the old Irish annals of Clan Macnos, or Clan Macnois, ancient chronicles from prehistoric times to the early 15th century, the Fomorians were giants who arrived to Ireland from over the ocean. They were direct descendants of Noah. That's a lie. Okay, that shit The only connections between the Fomorians and the Bible, okay, would be the great flood that occurred, and the Fomorians are connected and related to the Nephilim. Okay, the Fomorians are directly related to the Nephilim. The only difference is the Nephilim weren't amphibious. The Fomorians were amphibious beings. Okay, the Irish annals described the Fomorians as warlike race that represented a branch of a clan that descended from Cham or Ham. Ham in the Bible basically representing people who look African. Okay, so this is the nail in the coffin. You know what I'm saying? For everybody out there who are saying that the Fomorians weren't black people, like I said, this is coming from the Irish themselves. This is coming from Irish scholars themselves. Okay? And like I said, as this video keeps going further and further, I'm going to get deeper and deeper. The Irish annals described the Fomorians as warlike race that represented a branch of a clan that descended from Cham or Ham. Okay? So that means that they looked like black people. Okay? Okay, and the Fomorians, you know what I'm saying, had nothing to do with Noah. How the fuck could see, this is how stupid these fucking scholars are. Let me tell you how stupid these fucking scholars are. How can the Fomorians be descendants of Noah when Noah was saved by the flood? Okay, he was saved from the flood, supposedly, and the Fomorians and their descendants, known as the Nephilim, were wiped out by the flood. So wouldn't Noah want to save his relatives? You know what I'm saying? Why would the Fomorians or the Nephilim be related to Noah? That doesn't even make any sense. The Bible refers to the Nephilim as fucking demons. You know what I'm saying? No, you know what I'm saying? This source right here, you know, is terribly misinformed. You know what I'm saying? But you can read it for yourself, and this is how they depicted the Fomorians. Now, we all know that many times in history, we can go through the ages in Europe, through the Dark Ages. So-called black people were always promoted and depicted as demons. Okay? Just like the masculine Lucifer. Just like in the Bible, the masculine Lucifer. That was a depiction of a black god enacting the pineal gland and the kundalini energy of the humans, okay, that were in the garden, okay, and waking them up to the fact that they were slaves to Saturn, they were slaves to Father Time, they were slaves to Kronos, they were slaves to Yaldabaoth, okay? And Kronos made those people shamed of their reproductive organs. Okay, now right here you have the depiction of the Fomorians that rose from the sea, and they were giants. Okay, amphibious giants, warriors species that came from the oceans. All right, and these were heavily melanated dark beings, and they went to war. All right, these are our ancestors. They went to war with these beings right here. And their name is very, very interesting. It's kind of a complicated name, but it's the name of the Fomorians' enemy. And I'm here to tell you right now that the enemy of the Fomorians, they are the so-called Caucasian group of people that invaded Ireland, because even the scholars have already said that not only were the Twa the original inhabitants of Ireland, the Fomorians were inhabiting Ireland before the Europeans or the Caucasians showed up as well. Okay, now right here we go. Among other descriptions of the Fomorians, there is one saying they had animal heads. However, most probably they had helmets or headgear shaped like animal heads, or even more likely, they wore the head of animals over their heads. Most of researchers believe the Fomorians were humans and dub, just like the name Dublin, which in Gaelic means black, dark, darkness, darkness. Okay? Okay? It's over with. It's over with. It's over with. Okay? Now I need to find that name. Okay, here it is. This is the short term for the name of the Caucasians that came into Ireland and overthrew the Fomorians. Their name was the Danann, but it's longer than that. You know, their real name is longer than that. Okay, you can read on this. Okay, old tradition says that they erected the Great Tower of Conan. They lived in a fortress of the northwest coast of Ireland. From there, they spread terror, oppression, and tyranny until they were finally conquered. But here's the name, by the Tuatha De Danann. By the Tuatha De Danann. Okay, this is the name of the Caucasians who actually were pulled from a parallel universe by the god Amun. The Kemetic god Amun opened a interdimensional portal and started pulling beings from that portal, and that's where the original Nordics. Okay, I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but there is a group of people that live in inner Earth, and they are Nordics. Okay, now the original Nordics were pulled from a parallel universe, and for their population to grow, they had to start splicing their genetics. The god Amun started splicing the Nordics' genetics with certain animals and increasing their population on this earth. Okay? It wasn't Yakub, it was the god Amun, which later became Zeus, the jealous god that wanted a race of people to only worship him and him only. And that god Amun, okay, is what depicts these Fomorians and the Titans and the Nephilim and Lucifer as evil. You see? You see? You see, the shit's deep. The shit's deep. So this is what the Tuatha De Danann said about the Fomorians. This is what the Tuatha De Danann said about the Fomorians. Old tradition says that the Fomorians erected a great tower. That's where you get your movie, The Dark Tower. This is where you get the theology of the Tower of Babylon, or the Axis Mundi. It's really not even talking about a tower that's outside of ourselves. It's talking about a tower that's inside of ourselves, which is the motor cortex in our brain. Okay, and when the motor cortex in our brain was deactivated, we lost the ability of telepathy, and we started babbling. That's why it's called the Tower of Babel. The motor cortex in our brain is the Tower of Babel. Okay, it was deactivated, and now we're babbling. You see, if it's activated again, we're gonna reach the ultimate level of godhood that we once achieved. Okay, so it's right here. This is what the white people, or the so-called Caucasians, are saying about the Fomorians. Old tradition says the Fomorians erected the Great Tower of Conan at Tory Island. They lived in a fortress off the northwest coast of Ireland. From there, they spread terror, oppression, and tyranny until they were finally conquered by the Tuatha De Danann. Now, this is just from their perspective. You know what I'm saying? Now, we know every time in history where so-called Caucasians were at a peak it was the opposite for melanated people. Every time melanated people reached a peak of godhood, that's a time where the so-called Caucasian was oppressed. It's always been one or the other. It's always been one or the other. All you got to do is just do the research. The Fomorians' greatest warrior, Balor, yep, Balor, that's his name, was also killed by his own grandson, okay? The Tua de Danann, tough and brave champion. So his grandson betrayed him, okay? His grandson, who was under both bloodlines of the Tua de Danann and the Fomorians, betrayed Balor, who was the great god, the great warrior chief of the Fomorians. And this is how, folks, this is how melanated people ended up losing power over Europe, over ancient Europe, you know, until the Moors took over Europe in 711 AD. But this is how, you know, our ancestors lost power in ancient Europe, right here. Okay, these beings were pulled from an alternate realm, from an alternate universe, folks. I thought it was bullshit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I thought it was fucking, you know, a bunch of fairy tale fantasy bullshit. But I'm here to tell you, everything that these motherfuckers want us to think is fairy tale fantasy is the reality, and the reality they want us to believe is the real bullshit. Okay. After the death of Balor, the Fomorians lost their power and control, and they were soon driven into the sea and out of Ireland. You see? So the Fomorians were drove out of Ireland before the Twa were. Okay? Because you have the shortest people on earth, which are the Twa pygmies and other melanated pygmies, and then you have the tallest people on earth, which are also melanated beings. Okay? You know, the melanated being is basically everything that nature has to offer. You know, the melanated beings come in all shapes and forms. Some sources report that the few survivors were permitted to continue to live in Ireland. Okay, so there were some Fomorians who survived the genocide, and they sold out to the Tua de Danann. They sold out to the Caucasians, and they told I actually read another article on this. They told the Caucasians how to grow crops and how to irrigate, and, you know, architecture and all of that, astronomy, all of that, okay, music, all of that was taught to the Tua de Danann by the Fomorians. You see, very deep information here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, you know, I showed you the shortest people on earth, which are the Twa. Now, the tallest people on earth, on average, the tallest people on earth, okay, is a tribe in South Sudan known as the Dinka. The Dinka Tribe, D-I-N-K-A, the Dinka Tribe. All right, and you see their skin complexion right here. Completely dark. There's other group of beings, all right, that had this complexion, and their skin, their hue actually shined green. There was a other group of beings that were completely dark, and their hue shined blue. And, you know, there's other groups of beings, and their skin shined gold, blue, red, green, purple. You know what I'm saying? And you know, our ancestors were all over the earth, different shades of carbon. Okay? So the giants, the original giants, see the so-called media, the mainstream media on this earth right now, they're controlled by the parasite. So they want us to believe that all these giants were not darker skinned people. If the original pygmies were dark people, why wouldn't the original giants be darker people? You see what I'm saying? It's complete bullshit. Complete, utter bullshit. You know, that comes from, you know, mainstream science, mainstream archaeology, mainstream biology, mainstream media, all bullshit. All right. Now, if you read this article, now, you know, I highly advise for everybody to copy and paste this this article in your search engines right now. Copy and paste this shit, okay, or screenshot it, whatever the hell you got to do with it, and copy and paste that motherfucker in Google, and because you need to read that. Okay, this right here is an Irish man admitting the real history of Ireland. This is an Irish man, okay, a so-called Caucasian Irish man admitting the real history of Ireland. How the Fomorians and the Twa were overthrown and murdered and, you know, executed and slaughtered, okay, by the hundreds of thousands, okay, and they were vanished out of Ireland. And he even goes on to say that there's two groups of white people in Ireland. This guy says there's two groups of Caucasians in Ireland. There's a group in Ireland called the Brun, and then there's a group in Ireland called the Celtic. There's the Celtic Caucasian, and then there's the Brun Caucasian. And we're going to break this shit down right here. You see, the Brun Caucasian in Ireland is the particular Caucasian that inherited certain features from the Fomorians, okay, from those giant Moors, which is dark hair and thick hair, and if you wet it, it's very curly. You get the, you know, you get the prominent eyebrow ridge, okay, prominent cheekbones, chin, and a lot of them have wide nose cartilage, okay. And these are, like I said, Irish people. These are called the Brun. All you got to do is put in the Brun of Ireland. Brun people, the Brun people of Ireland. And this is why the Zionists look down on the Irish, and the Zionists have been using the Irish as indentured servants, you know what I'm saying, for a very long time. The Zionists have been using the Irish as pawns for a long ass time to do the Zionist dirty work. You see, because they look down on the Irish because of this Brun, of the Brun lineage, which ties back to the Fomorians. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them might have thicker lips, darker hair, wider nose, prominent eyebrow ridges. Okay, and it gets deeper. You know, there's even something called Black Irish, where you know, where they might have completely black hair. Okay, prominent cheekbones, wider nose. Okay, look, they got a video on it right here. Okay, this is not a joke. And see, there's like a little feud going on in Ireland between the Black Irish, the Brun, okay, the Brun Black Irish, and the Celtic Irish. All right. Now this is the Celtic Irish, and these individuals have more Caucasoid Neanderthal DNA in them, especially the blonde hair, blue-eyed Irish. Okay, now the red hair Irish is a result of Scandinavian, Norwegian, and Swedish blood. Okay, the red hair comes from Norwegian, Scandinavian, and Swedish. So Swedish, Norwegian, and Scandinavian blood. Now the Moorish men had children with Caucasoid women, all right, from Norway and Sweden, and that's where you get the red hair. Okay, that's where red hair comes from. But like I said, completely blonde hair, blue-eyed, that's what would be considered the most Celtic, so-called Celtic phenotype. Okay, very deep information here, and this right here is going to be the absolute nail in the coffin. These next two slides, all right, this one right here says that, and you know, this is just so crazy how the universe works. This article came out only 3 days ago. This article only came out 3 days ago. And you know what I'm saying? What do you know? I just found it today because I just got up and the universe told me to break down the history of Ireland. And, you know, it's just so crazy how the cosmic force is working. Ancient bones reveal that the Irish are not Celts after all. Ha! Ancient bones reveal that the Irish are not Celts after all. Okay? You know why? Because the etymology of the word Celt or Celtic means that somebody who holds the universal wisdom, somebody who holds the great wisdom of the cosmos and the great wisdom of nature. That's what the Celt and Celtic means. Okay, so when they say this, they're saying that the Caucasians in Ireland are not the real Celts. Okay, and here is the article right here. You can copy and paste that as well. All right, and this just shows that there was a skeleton found in Ireland that goes back. Let's see, was it over 1,000? No, 2000 BC, which is over 4,000 years ago. Okay, long before any so-called organized Caucasian society was established in Ireland. Okay, so these bones are coming up on the daily, it seems, these ancient bones, this is just proving what we learned in mainstream science, biology, and archaeology is a crock of shit. All right, now this right here, I'm going to consider the absolute nail in the coffin, because there's certain scholars, so-called scholars out there that are saying, oh, the Twa were too primitive. The Twa were too primitive to get into ships and sail from Africa to Ireland. They were too primitive. Well, that shit's going to get busted up today because the etymology of the word Scotland, we're going to go into the etymology of the word Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, the word Scotland comes from the word Scota. The word Scotland comes from the word Scota, the Princess Scota of ancient Kemet. There was a Kemetic princess. There was a Kemetic princess named Princess Scota, and she wanted to lead a voyage. This was when the world was still under matriarchy. Okay, or a matriarchy that wasn't hidden. So this was when the world was under a unhidden matriarchy. Princess Scota, okay, was going through voyages across the entire world, and one of the places that the current of the ocean and the Mediterranean took her was Ireland. Okay? Or no, not only Ireland, but Scotland. Okay, so this is where you get the name Scotland. You get it from Princess Scota. Princess Scota. All right? Just go do the diligent research yourself. Okay? It's not a game, and it's not a joke whatsoever. This information has been hidden from us for thousands of years, and my job is to do my best of uncovering it and spreading it to the masses. Another thing about the Fomorians is, okay, these Fomorians, they came from Atlantis. These Fomorians were giant amphibious gods that came from Atlantis. You see, and it's all being revealed. First shall be last, last shall be first. Okay, what's been hidden is now being exposed on a cosmic level. The cosmic vibrations, I mean, you can feel them so much if you just go outside and let the sun hit your skin. Okay, it's almost like there is a vibration of heat, some kind of new radiation that's causing your body to become engulfed in a form of heat, but it's not dangerous. You know what I'm saying? For everybody who's on that 13 vibration, for everybody who's on that cosmic vibration. You see, if you're not on that cosmic vibration, you're going to be subject to a heat stroke or spontaneous human combustion this summer. Okay, get ready for it. Babylon is rising. Atlantis is rising. Okay, Babylon and Atlantis, Kemet, Sumeria, you know what I'm saying? The civilization of the Maya rising, the civilization of the Inca rising, Lemuria rising. Okay, this is the greatest awakening in the history of humanity, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So, with all that being said, that's all I had to say on this subject. I appreciate everyone who supports RFG and Atlantean movement. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's the Chosen One, man. I'm out.